1. Yesterday we got this woman in the drive-thru who insisted her order was messed up the day earlier, and she called and called and no one answered. I can't speak to that because I was off, but as long as she has a receipt we can replace it. She doesn't have a receipt. I'm like, okay, well, we can't replace it then. She freaks out and screams about how we didn't give her a receipt and didn't pick up the phone, and she's gonna call my manager, and she's gonna report us all to corporate and blah blah blah. So I offer to ring her up for the same order. She orders and finishes with, "And I want my effing receipt," and I'm like, over it. So I go, "Ma'am, that's absolutely no way to talk to anyone here." And she's like, "I don't care, I want my effing receipt, and I want 5 effing ranch in the bag." I absolutely take the opportunity to be petty and ring her at 10 cents each, and after handing me a fistful of only pennies, she's 3 cents short. I ask if she wants me to put one back, and she freaks out again. I'm petty. Finally, she hands me a quarter. I give her all the food and the receipt, and change, etc., and she flips me off, my co-manager and my crew of 4 or 5 kids up front. Fine, whatever. That was bull, but at least it's over, right? Wrong. End of the night tonight, maybe 20 minutes to close. This car comes in and I start on the headset. She's like, I came in about this time yesterday and I got the wrong order. I have my receipt. Is there any way it can be replaced? Just as sweet as pie. I'm kind of joking with my co-manager like, what should be that psycho from yesterday? I'll cuss her out. And then on the headset I go, what did you order and what was wrong with it? She tells me, and it's the same exact order. We start to realize it literally actually is her. And co-manager is just saying, no, send her away, I'm not remaking it again. And to be honest, I completely understand. Petty bitch moment again. Oh, of course. Are you the lady that cussed us out yesterday? Have a wonderful night. And I hang up. I hear her drive away, figure that's the end of it, and start taking the next orders. Of course it's not. She just drove away from the speaker. I don't know if she thought I'd forget by the time she's at the window, but I didn't. I'm in the middle of taking an order, but I can see her pull up, waving a receipt in the air. Co-manager says he wants to talk to her, and I definitely don't, so that works out. She starts off like, yeah, I know we had a problem yesterday, but my food was made wrong. I need it all replaced. He's like, no, it wasn't. They go back and forth for a minute until she admits it was fine, just sloppy, and since she has a receipt, she should get the whole order replaced. Co-manager scoffs and goes, that's your receipt from yesterday when you tried the same thing. We're not making it. She tries out again like, you have to, I called and I have the receipt. He's like, no, you didn't, I've been here all day, and no, we don't. Have a good night. He closes the window and walks away. This whole time I'm getting the next order ready, maybe like 5 feet away, so I'm just waiting for her to leave. She, in all her Karen brilliance, lays on her horn, just slams it and doesn't let up. I could care less, honestly. The window is closed and there's nothing super urgently calling me over. This doesn't stop for like a solid minute or two. The whole time her husband is fighting her away from the horn. Co-manager and I decide we can tell her to leave and then call the police for trespassing. He walks over and goes, you need to leave, right now. She's still laying on her horn and he has to shout at the top of his lungs, leave or we will call the police, now! She finally lets up, beeps her horn a couple more times and screeches off. But I'm sure this isn't the end of it. The first day she was here, she made such a huge deal of taking notes of mine and co-managers' names to report us to corporate. I'm sure she's not going to take well to having consequences to her actions. I close 5 nights a week, and left a note in the office saying she's banned. Honestly, can't wait to see what she pulls tomorrow. 2. I'm a delivery driver for a large pizza chain, about things falling over. Due to COVID-19, we deliver somewhat contactless, leaving pizzas at your doorstep and backing up 6+ feet and waiting for you to get your pies. Today had been a fairly uneventful busy day. I was delivering to a nearby local hotel a fairly large order. Large enough, I didn't want to drop anything, so I decided on 2 trips, food then drinks. The room was on the other side of the hotel, so it was a fair walk. I got a small laugh out of seeing a young man running up the hallway and knocking on a door in his underwear, and running back to his room. I thought nothing of it, just some kid playing a practical joke. I delivered the pizzas, thanked the customer, and advised him I would be back with their drinks. With their food still waiting on the ground and the customer standing in the door, I quickly jogged out the back door, opens only outward with a room key, and back in the front. Things got curious. I noticed one of our sauce packets on the ground and laughed. We are pretty popular there, must be a leftover. But as I approached the room, things took a turn. Customer is standing there with his mom, looking dumbfounded like a deer in headlights. I asked what's wrong, and she turned to her son and said, "I don't know. Didn't you grab it?" To which he sheepishly said, "Yes," but it was obviously a lie. Someone has stolen their massive stack of pizzas in less than 1 minute when they closed the door. Not knowing what to do, I left again at the back door to get my phone, mounted in my car for GPS, and sure as shit, there's my stack of pizzas sitting leaning against the back door of another room. I frantically darted for the stack, noticing sauce cups thrown everywhere. I cared nothing but for the pies themselves. As quickly as I had grabbed them, a man approached me asking questions. I told him about the theft and ran back to deliver the food to its rightful owners. Sure enough, the maintenance man had caught the thief asking him to let him in his back door with a pile of pizzas. Seeing a half-naked man with a stack of pizzas only wanting in the back door, he told me that was immediately suspect and refused to open the back door. By then, we returned to the front desk. There's the young man, still half-naked with 4 people around. We approached him, calling out, to which he awkwardly and drunkenly said, "You didn't see me do it," to the guy standing in front of him, who indeed saw him do it. All in all, I left to get back to work and returned for another delivery later that night. All I heard was the underpants bandit was no longer staying at that hotel. Maybe he was just hungry. 3. My county recently shut down all dine-in operations for the next 3 weeks, at least, probably longer. So we're only doing outdoor patio seating. The Downtown Business Association of the city I am located in, however, has blocked off 2 lanes of the main downtown road that my restaurant is located on, so that restaurants can extend their patio to fit more seats. Because of this, we currently have 9 tables, all outdoors. More relevant backstory. There's a wonderful, kind man who works both at a local coffee shop and as an employee of the city. He is known to pretty much everyone in the city as he frequents the downtown area and always makes a point to remember everyone's names, have a conversation with them, and wish them a good day. He's lovely and most definitely a cornerstone of the community. He is also mentally handicapped, so he walks and talks a little bit more slowly than everyone else. At the time of this story, he's sitting on our extended patio and enjoying a beer while he waits for his food. For the purpose of this story, I'll call him Rick. Shortly after we open at 11 a.m., an older man comes in and asks if he can have a beer on our patio, but not order food. My boss is seated at the bar doing work and tells him no, unfortunately, alcohol must be purchased only with food at this time, due to the fact that our facilities are outdoors at the moment. The older man, in typical boomer fashion, takes this as a personal insult. "So I really can't just sit outside with just a beer? I don't want food. I just had a big breakfast." As if my boss made this rule up on the spot. My boss informs him that we could lose our liquor license if we were to allow that. The old man huffs and puffs as he makes his way out the door. I, ever enthusiastic, invite him to return for lunch. He steps outside, sees Rick on the patio with his beer as he awaits his food, and says to me, "How come the village idiot is allowed to just have a beer and I can't?" This takes me a second to process, since what kind of absolute bastard says something like that to a stranger, to anyone ever? I say he's waiting on the food he ordered, And that is not a nice thing to say, not nice at all. He scoffs and says, "Well, it's true," over his shoulder as he leaves. My boss is still sitting at the bar and watched this go down. Fortunately, he tells me I am allowed to refuse service if the old man takes my suggestion and returns for lunch. Honestly, what was the best-case scenario that man had expected from saying that to me? Did he want me to laugh with him and get him a beer? Did he think I wouldn't say anything? Looking back, I don't think I said enough, but I was so taken aback in the first place that I didn't have the presence of mind to properly tell him off. "Sorry you couldn't get your 11 a.m. beer, sir?" I never have had someone say something so downright nasty and vile to me. It really made me sad too, because I'm certain that Rick has done more for the community than that sicko ever has or will. And the fact that people still look down on him like that makes me so sick. Anyways, the pandemic is truly bringing out the worst in people. I really feel for everyone else in the service industry right now, especially in places where masks aren't legally required. 4. So this is an event that happened to me before I had been let go from my job, due to the COVID virus that is going around. I'm a 23-year-old male, 6'3", soft and generally nice to most people. I get along greatly with the customers who would come by the restaurant we had. A generally hidden gem that was only low on customers during the daytime, but flooded up with many of them during the evening and night due to our happy hour drink specials. Technically, I'm a busser, the guy who comes around and gets drinks, helps with the front if need be, gets dishes and cleans them if we need them to be. Alongside this, one of my other jobs was to clean tables and the floors, which was what I was in the middle of doing when we, the staff members, and I who were involved in this story, who had to deal with this entire event, ran into the creeping old man. See, the creeping old man, COM for short, was heavily interested in one of our servers. She worked a 5-day shift most days, but due to family issues, being a single mom of 2, had to work shifts that were only as long as 5 or 6 hours in length. However, she was one of the brightest personalities in the room, and even I consider her a sunshine in a dark hallway. She was that sweet. I'll call her Sunny. Now, as I said, Sunny was loved by a lot of our co-workers. But a flaw with her was that she was too nice. She didn't know where to draw the line sometimes with talking to people about her personal life. But a lot of our regulars were often curious, and even I have had a couple of people whom I got along with and just kept them up to date about my college life and how long I had until semester was over. But Com was different. He'd only been there for a short while, but he was drawn to Sunny, and tried to refuse to take help from others who were readily available. If Sunny was on her break, he'd wait. This wasn't unusual. We had people who had favorite servers, and while we weren't supposed to be dragging them out of their breaks in the nearby lunch cafe, the customers were regulars and the staff actually loved them enough to come back out and help them before resuming their 30-minute breaks. I showed up to work one day and saw that he had come in. I don't fully remember the details of the conversation that went down between one of the hostesses, but from what we did and what I had to catch up on, this was generally what went down. "Hey Gail, anything happened since I left?" Oh, Peter here. No, nothing hasn't happened or changed. Although Com has swapped seats, he wanted a sun view, so you can put back the table we moved earlier and put those chairs back. He had asked to be sat up in the loft where we don't usually sit people if we don't have enough staff to cover that area. The entire floor in the restaurant had a map, and Sunny worked in Area C towards the back. Com had found out from watching her that she worked in that area today and requested we move him there instead. Well, actually, he just got up and sat down at an empty table and chair close to the windows. But whatever. People don't do it often, and we're used to some elderly people just getting upset at where they're sat, and if there isn't anything that will throw us off in our ordering system, who serves customer group A, B, C, etc., we allow it. But then we all started to watch. We were on slow days throughout that week, and I personally started to get involved when calm after asking Sunny personal questions, such as if she was okay with looking for an apartment that was near his home. He brought the paper information regarding the apartment in question, asking how her relationship troubles were, and even going so far as to try and ask her to take up a different job that would make it so she has to stop by his place. It became clear this wasn't normally what she talked about with him. Strangely, he came to me about that job offer too, but I just denied his offer and told him I wanted to keep the job that paid my rent. Later in the same day, this all started. Com came to me and asked me where Sunny left from. Given that our restaurant has been inside a giant casino, and we all had different ways of leaving and preferences to do so, I told him I couldn't give him a straight answer. Even I occasionally took different routes to leave the casino. But to begin with, I didn't plan on telling him where she left from. I don't know the answer anyways, so that was my best answer. Job done, right? Yeah, wrong. I later heard from Gail that Com was angry with me for telling him the wrong information. I was confused. The wrong information? I was just being honest. How could I have lied? Well, he came by the next day and Sunny was scared to go out and help. She told some of us in the back Gail misses one of the other servers and a general mom to the group. We both had a healthy relationship of making jabs and bad jokes towards the other, and I were the only people who were in the store to cover the floor at this time. Besides those two, there was a third member of the group, but she wasn't fully involved until after this moment happened. Mrs. and I were both informed by Sunny, through as much of a hushed voice as she could, just in case the customers could hear us in the back in the kitchen, that Com was trying to flirt and hit on her. It was around this time, actually, that I had heard about how he had been a bother to other servers, floor manager included, and that he didn't care who tried to make him understand he needed to back off. Mrs. at one point tried stepping onto the floor and pretending to be Sunny's mom in the hopes that he would see he shouldn't try to make Sunny more uncomfortable than she already was. His response, "Okay, so..." And then he went back to bickering about how he needed her number. Even one of the cooks who was treated nicely by Sunny was disturbed by this and nearly came out. But the biggest piece of news I could gather from all that gossip that went down? Sunny told me herself that I needed to be careful, that Com was furious with Mrs. Gale, her, and me. Yes, because of my wrong answer. And he made quite a little threats about getting us fired because we were defending her for his stupid shenanigans. I had had it. Enough was enough. Sunny was one of the few people in the group who had been a good friend and helped me with my own assignments during college classes. Without her help, I'm sure I would have done a worse job and possibly needed to redo the entire course. She was family in this group, and I was mad that he threatened her job over refusing to flirt. I didn't care for my job as much. I had already been thinking of another position, should I lose the current job. I went to my manager, not the floor manager, but one of the big three managers who, for the sake of this story, and making it simple, were the chefs. Chef 1, Chef 2. Chef 1 was the head honcho, Chef 2 was another one of them. But if Chef 1 was the big brains, Chef 2 was support that kept him running. I lied and told my coworkers that I had to go get towels for wiping the tables. What I really did was head on over to the places where I knew Chef 2 would be, since I knew he was around. Imagine my surprise when I was giving up and coming upstairs with a cart full of towels, so I actually would fulfill what I said I'd do. Chef 2 was on his way up to start his shift. I informed him of everything that I had heard. We were heading to the elevators where we could part. He was going to leave, but then I hit him with the news about Com's job threats. "Tell me more. What's going on?" I laid it all out, what Sunny said, what Gail told me, how Com blatantly ignored Mrs. and tried to make Sunny tell him her number. Even the bit about him threatening me in my job over him asking where Sunny left from. When all was said and done, he came back up a few minutes later with the head honcho himself, talking to Sunny, Gail, Mrs., and then, after getting the story straight, they both went out to confront Com. Aftermath. Unfortunately, while I wish this was the end of the story, because I know it sounds like this is the exact point where Com gets his butt handed to him by our head staff, It isn't as fully done as I wish. Com had been eating while I was doing everything I could to get the chefs. When things were settled, chefs 1 and 2 both came out to find that Com left without paying. It took some time, but when Com came back, I was around for it and informed all the staff who were around at the time. Sunny thankfully wasn't there, so she didn't have to get involved with Com and his messed up shenanigans. Security was called after Chef 2 was given the heads up that he was around again. We'd blacklisted him last time when he left without paying. So this time we were going to try to get him to stay long enough to get security to properly escort him off the property and get our money back. Com never gave up the money for his past 3 orders he ditched and ran out on us for. That part frustrated me. But it was all for the best since Com couldn't bother Sunny anymore. We continued working on our merry way until we all got booted out of the casino due to the pandemic. For those who may be wondering, in case you were thinking, how could Mrs. and Sunny convince Com that she's her mom? Sunny looks younger than how she really is. Her kids are both at least younger than, I want to say, 8 and 5. I think she's in her mid-30s, but I may be wrong. Mrs., though, is in her 50s. I know this because her son came by to go on dates with and eventually proposed to his girlfriend. Before that, I made small talk with him and asked him what would be the best gift for her Secret Santa. I've been there for some time, and I only knew she liked the Raiders. I got her a gift card for the NFL sports shop. She liked it. 5. Apart from doing the odd bit of waiting for the function suite of the rowing club my dad belonged to, the first bar I ever truly worked in was Robinson's Bar, opposite the most bummed hotel in the history of Belfast. Robinson's is a multi-story pub that attracts loudmouth tourists and loudmouth locals. Seriously, I've heard genuine bullshit you not rumors that Robinson's was one of the first places that cops checked for those who had escaped from mental hospitals, from those in the charity sector as well as hospitality. I started there as a glass collector, or barback as they're often known as. My duties were largely revolving around the simple act of collecting glasses, as the name suggests, but would extend as far as cleaning tables, restocking the bar, and cutting fruit. I hated the job from the interview, an interview which I had gone into with an LSD come-down, which had made me accidentally walk into the wall behind me as I got up to leave my seat. The interview process, which was shared with a ditzy 17-year-old girl, had us both stumble through the most basic questions. Why do you collect glasses? To keep tables tidy? Prevent glasses from being knocked over? Glasses can be used as a weapon, reduce the chance of spillage? Yes, those are good reasons. But what is the main reason you collect glasses? Glass is a weapon? You've given me that one. There's a more obvious one. No idea, sorry. What do we serve drinks in? Oh! Bottles? When I had started, I was not in a good frame of mind. My father had passed on not long before I started, and a year prior I had finished university. I was full of hope and expectation for a great working life, only to encounter a job market plagued by the global recession. Something we appear on the verge of in this COVID-19 governed society. It was a job that I was good enough at to say it was beneath me, but the attitude I displayed was one of the many reasons I wasn't given an opportunity to learn bartending. It probably didn't help that I'd be stoned half the time I was working there, or I'd drift out at my break and have 2 pints and Wetherspoons before returning to my half-assed job a bit more. A practice I'd continue in some shape or form in various jobs for years to come, just typically with a lot less of that prick Martin's establishments. That, along with occasionally, covertly finding a bag of miscellaneous white powder on the floor and playing Sniff the Mystery Gear, or, getting away with the fact that I was doing as little as possible, counted as the main perks. If I would loathe that feeling of subservience bartending sometimes grants workers, I'd really grow to hate it as a barback. It's a real fetch me, bring me job, Like on your first day, you're told to get a long wait or some tartan paint by some bartender eager to test your gullibility on your first day on the job. And yeah, I went and asked for that long wait with an eyebrow raised high enough to challenge the Rock himself. That's not to say I didn't revel in that tradition for years to come. In fact, when I did it years later, I was probably worse, preying on poor barbacks who didn't even speak English as a first language. Despite the haze of hangovers and mild substance abuse, barbacking had its odd notable moment. Like my first physical confrontation in a bar, or the second one, which were a lot tamer than one would expect from the bar across the road from the most bombed hotel in Belfast. To speed up service, and get as many empties from the tables, I stack the collected empty glasses in towers of about 12, and sometimes carry 2 at a time. This is something which is probably fairly dangerous at the best of times, but probably a lot more so in a bar with sticky floors, handbags, and middle-aged cankles strewn about the floor. Despite that fact, generally nothing goes that badly, except for one occasion, when some clown decided to do the unthinkable. Any bar that I work in, I've known female staff to be harassed by sleazy prick patrons. I've offered to speak to the patron and warn them off. I've encouraged them to speak to managers or doormen, but out of shame and embarrassment they've chosen to avoid fuss and take the silent option. It saddens me that guys not only feel entitled to be grabby like they are, but get away with it. Then it would happen to me a few times with hen parties, and I'd let a bum pinch from a rough-looking old doll slide, because aside from making a quip about it, I didn't feel like it was worth making a fuss. When guys did it, it became slightly more of a big deal, particularly on one occasion when I had my 2 towers of glasses stacked in my hands, and I felt a jab in both sides of my hips. You know that electric shock thing the primary school bully used to play on you as a kid? Imagine that was a grown fucking man doing his job carrying dangerous when broken objects, and some clown you never met before decides it'd be hilarious to stab you with his index fingers in the sides. I was, as you can probably tell, outraged. I quickly set down the glasses and tore into the grinning fool behind me, giggling like the little schoolboy bitch that this 30-something man seemed to think he was. "What the fuck do you think you're doing?" I growled aggressively. "I'm sorry." "Oh, you're fucking not. You clearly didn't think one bit about how that could affect me. Think about how dangerous that could have been. How I could have had to then spend another 20 minutes clearing up bits of broken glass because you thought it was hilarious to touch me. Who the fuck are you anyway? Who the fuck do you think you are?" "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry, don't fucking do it. Just sit there and have a good long hard think about how you fucked up." It felt good. I hadn't had a blowout of steam like that in someone for a while, but I will always remember that as my moment of I need to get out of this job. A month or so later I left the place and didn't look back. I think I've been back for a pint once or twice in 10 years since, but I drank it as one of my least likely venues to visit in Belfast. In my last month or so, there was another instance where a bouncer had to kick 2 guys out. I got told by one of the bartenders to give the bouncer a hand. Whilst one bouncer had one aggressive customer on the ground, I simply stepped in to make sure the other customer didn't try to interfere or stamp on the bouncer. He cocked his hand back as if to throw a haymaker at me, and everything went in slow motion. I've got to block this or move out of the way. Even kick him with a front kick. It was as if my years of training martial arts actually was getting in the way. I had too many options. I couldn't decide, and in my hesitation was probably going to get clocked. Just as he went to throw that punch, up came another set of arms. A second bouncer descended on the angry prick, and scooped him up from below the armpits, saved by the bell. I don't remember too much else from working in that place, other than the odd bit of fluff, but it made me come to the conclusion, if I was going to stay in the bar industry, I was going to do everything in my power to avoid working as a glass collector ever again. And, jokes aside, I would give a bit more respect to any good barback that I worked with. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Spinning Plates number 105. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Special shout out goes to Charlto, the author of story number 5, our barback bartending friend. And he has a blog, which I will link to in the description. If you liked the story, click on over there. You can find others he's posted and will be posting in upcoming weeks. And maybe leave a like and a comment on his blog. I think, yes, you can. You can post comments. Okay, this is for when? Saturday? Hang on, let me check. Are there any other shoutouts for this video? No, there aren't. Okay, lovely. thank you very much for all the kind comments you left on last week's double-length video, marking the 2 years of doing the server stories. Much appreciated and always nice to see. Nice for me, and it's also nice for people who come along and, you know, they people whose stories I've used, and they come along and they can see the comments themselves. So it's always nice for them to see appreciation. Okay, and with that, I'm gonna head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.